Welcome back to the Lights Out podcast. We are excited to be here today. We are hours removed from Zuffa Boxing 7, and there's a lot to unpack, not just with the event, but with what is to come as well. Zuffa Boxing 7 was ultimately a new chapter in Zuffa Boxing, right? The first six events were at the UFC Apex, and they were fine. But Zuffa Boxing 7 kind of provides us with the best main event we've seen so far, at least the most competitive main event we've seen so far at a high level with a very good undercard. That's one thing you can always expect from Zuffa at this point is a good undercard. But let's start right at the top, man. We had the main event of Zuffa 7, the number 3 cruiserweight in the world, Chris Billum Smith, taking on the number 6 cruiserweight in the world, Ryan Rozicki. Two amazing fighters. It's a hometown fight for CBS as Zuffa's in the UK, and we actually see the TKO victory after round 8. Ultimately, Rozicki was unable to continue fighting, but let me tell you, man, they may have waived it off for Rozicki for health purposes, which is fine, which is solid, which is great. But this fight was going back and forth. Like, I still was watching the fight before they waved it off and was like, dude, Rozicki's eating punches, but he's delivering them as well. This was an absolute slugfest. And what did you think about the main event of Zuffa 7?
Dude, absolute war, honestly, man. Like there's no other real way to put it, man. Absolute war. Like this was as old school cruiserweight violence as you can get, like from both sides. From the opening bell ends, man, like Billum Smith and Rozicki, man, they really put on a show. Like that's one of those fights. I actually just got back from rewatching that fight before we actually started recording. And man, like going back and rewatching it, man, like fucking A, man. Fucking awesome.
Yeah,
It
man.
was
Yeah.
awesome. What was I gonna say?
Co-main was also pretty fantastic. Another cruiserweight bout, Chev Clark defeating Jack Massey with a comeback knockout in the later rounds. Chev Clark goes down twice in the fight and then gets the knockout on Jack Massey. What a competitive fight.
Oh
Of
yeah,
course, the main event is like a top 6 matchup. Winner probably up next to face Opataya or get a piece of Opataya at some point. But Chev Clark versus Jack Massey, man, I think that was I hate to say it because I do think CBS versus Rozicki was Zuffa's best fight so far in terms of scale, in terms of making it highly competitive and it having like championship consequences. But Chev Clark versus Jack Massey might be fight of the night. Like, I hate to say it, but a comeback KO. You just can't argue with a nice comeback KO and a great co-main.
yeah. I mean, like you really can't. I mean, I'll say this about your point about Rozicki, and then I'll get back to your point. Dude, like you were saying, Rozicki was eating punches, man. Like that was honestly insane. It's a miracle that dude was even still standing, honestly. But going
I
back
don't know
to,
how. I don't know how he was still standing.
but going back to Chev Clark versus Massey, man, like that was all inspiring, dude. Like that's one thing that I've always liked about Chef Clark is that he never quits, and like what a comeback, man. I'll agree with you. I think this fight was definitely, in my opinion, fight of the night because it was like, dude, two getting imagine getting knocked down twice and you still get up and you end up winning the fight. Like that's something like out of a movie, dude. Like
We've seen it before.
we've seen
We've
it
seen, not
before, yeah.
not
We
very
actually
often, but we've seen it in Zuffa before. Even I believe it
we
was
have.
Zuffa 2, the first fight of the main card that we saw that. But it was good. It's good to see those types of fights going down. Ultimately, man, you got 5 fights on this main card. Zuffa usually does 3. We know Zuffa 8 later this month will do 3. We got 5 fights on the main card. Every single fight getting either a knockout or a TKO. Every single fight getting a finish. And obviously sometimes that means this guy's way like out of his league, the other person's league, right? Like Sam Hickey getting the KO against Todd Tompkins out of his league. Stephen McKenna getting Casey James Streeter out of his league. And I even think Lee Cutler looked pretty dominant. I think those first 3 fights on the main card are definitely like get those guys some better opponents. But in
Yeah.
terms of the main and co-main, I think it was pretty even and it just had some fireworks to close out. And that was, if you said CBS and Rozicki got to run it back, I wouldn't complain. I don't know if they're going to do that. I think they'd rather give one of these. I think they'd rather give CBS in this case a shot at the Zuffa belt. But if they wanted to run it back anytime after that, I would say yes, do it. I think Rozicki can get CBS, and I think the fight is closer than we thought. And I'm down to see it again sometime. Same with Chev Clark and Jack Massey, man. Like, you just have these fights where you're like, okay, we got unfinished business, and I think the co-main and the main fall under that qualification. It's not very often that we see a Zuffa main event and we're like, oh, those guys got to run it back. But I feel like Chev Clark and CBS have to face these guys again later in their career at some point.
Oh yeah, dude. I think absolutely. I think these are fights that I would want to see again. I obviously want to see CBS versus Opataya, I wouldn't mind if we get a rematch between Rozicki and CBS, man. That'd be a fun fight. And then Clark and Massey, man, I got to see that fight again. Like those were the two like most even fights, like you said, and the rest of them, like, and as you're mentioning earlier, like you got to get better opponents for Cutler, McKenna, and Hickey, man. Like those guys, the guys that they face, man, they're not bad fighters, but they weren't at their level either. So it's one of those things where it's like you might want to get better opponents, like you said. And I would be totally open to the two rematches, man. Like I mentioned earlier, I think we need to see these, and I think these fights were really closer than, like you said, again, like these fights are closer than we think. Like they were way closer. I honestly thought CBS was gonna dominate Rizicki, but that was not the case at all. And same with Chev Clark and Massey. I thought Chev Clark was going to dominate him, but no, honestly, I was proven wrong. But I'm open to a rematch between those fights, between those fighters. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah, man. Ultimately, I think you do Clark and Massey sooner rather than later. And then CBS and Rozicki is something that you can return to like in 2 years at the earliest, or late next year at the earliest. I think you let CBS go chase some gold, and then you give Rozicki another competitive fight and see what happens there. Very fun, dude. Zuffa 7 was incredible. It kind of spans like a new era for Zuffa, right? Like I know there's 6 months into existence, but it feels like we're out of the Apex era. And don't get me wrong, the Apex era was fun. Every show was in Vegas, every show was at the Apex, a lot of underdog fighters, a lot of scrapping. I loved it, right? But this big UK show and what's ahead really shows us that they're trying to do something here within less than 10 events of existing. They actually did announce the main and co-main for Zuffa Boxing 10, which will be their next international show. We'll have Zuffa 8 at the end of this month. That'll be in Vegas. That'll be a 3-fight card, 3-fight main card. We'll get to that when it comes. And then Zuffa 9, we know, is actually going to be in New York. We have some crazy speculation about what's going down in New York. I'm sure Edgar Berlanga and Richardson Hitchens will have bouts on the main card. There's rumors, and even Eddie Hearn himself has talked about Shakur Stevenson being a part of Zuffa Boxing. That's obviously something we're eager to talk about on this show, but ultimately we're going to wait until the official announcement, and we're going to go off of what's announced. Nothing announced for Zuffa 9. We have the full card for Zuffa 8, and then Zuffa 10 is going to have the return of Callum Walsh, not in the main event, but in the co-main event where he'll be facing Tyler Denny, which will be an awesome return to Zuffa for Walsh, their golden boy, if you will. And then that main event is Zuffa 10. This is where things get interesting. It's a number 6 versus number 5 in the middleweight division. We got Aaron McKenna taking on Etinosa Olija, and they advertised it as a world middleweight championship match. But is it for the Zuffa middleweight championship? This was a fight ordered by the IBF. So is it for the IBF middleweight championship, or is it for both? A lot of interesting stuff, and we'll have to kind of wait and see on that. With the IBF ordering it, and even Ring Magazine coming out and saying that this bout is for the IBF middleweight title, it creates a lot of intrigue, and honestly, it creates a lot of excitement. It's great that Zuffa's trying to do something special, and it's great that they're trying to do something different, but I can absolutely see the sanctioning body's belts having a presence on Zuffa Boxing. And it was kind of something I was hoping for when I found out that Dana White was getting into the fight game, or the boxing game, I should say. Silly. He's already in the fight game. You know, I heard Dana White was getting into boxing. I was like, I think he has the money to unify a lot of championships, a lot of belts. And Dana White has since said, no, we don't care about those belts. We want to make a Zuffa belt that's passionate, that's like definitely going for it, and that's cool. But I think it's time. I think having an IBF middleweight title bout at the main event of Zuffa 10 kind of opens up Pandora's box here and allows the sanctioning bodies and Zuffa to work together, which is really what they should be doing. Like, yeah, we're still trying to figure out what that Zuffa belt is. It seems like it's trying to be the same thing as the Ring Magazine Championship. Sometimes it seems like it might be like an NXT Championship thing. It's hard to tell. We're too close to the beginning of their existence, but we do see new ground being broken for the Zuffa 10 main event, as it will be an IBF championship bout. And let me just say this, and I know you're going to agree with me here. Get the damn IBF cruiserweight title back on Jai Opetaia, right? Because that only makes sense. Reinstate him as champion. You have Benavidez holding the WBA and WBO. He's about to fight the WBC cruiserweight champion. So Benavidez will have everything but the IBF Ring Magazine and Zuffa belt, and you'll have this super fight between Jai Opetaia and David Benavidez at the cruiserweight level, where they have all the belts, including the new Zuffa one. You want to make money, you want to put the fights together, do that. All right. You want to have your own Zuffa belt, that's fine, but also put good fights together. And I think Opetaia versus Benavidez is a fight that everyone is clamoring for. Clearly, there's a lot to unpack here. Zuffa 10 featuring an IBF middleweight title bout. Jai Opetaia recently being stripped of an IBF belt. What do you think about all this, Ant? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking. I think it's interesting because like I want to get to your point on the whole the Ring magazine and like them trying to like work with Zuffa. I mean, for as much corruption as we've said with the sanctioning bodies, man, I think it's like you said, we're opening Pandora's box here a little bit, and I think this is definitely something that we've needed. I think this should have happened a long time ago, maybe, but obviously the sanctioning bodies didn't want to play ball, as we mentioned earlier, and um,
We
I
know
want to
Dana White can be a douche. So the truth is, we don't really know. We know that they're stubborn and they both want money,
right,
but they got to put that pride to the side for sure. I'll let
yeah,
you go.
and going back to your thing about Opataya and Benavides, obviously that's the fight to make right now, but we'll have to wait. I feel like it's gonna take like a couple more months or maybe even like a year for that fight to happen. And
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I don't think they should go right away. I think you let Benavidez get the WBC cruiserweight title. It seems like the WBC wants that. And then you let Opetaia get reinstated as the IBF cruiserweight champion. You let Opetaia face CBS because you brought
yeah,
CBS to Zuffa, so you might as well have him face Opetaia later this year. And then you do the Benavidez fight like Cinco de Mayo or September next year.
right. And I think that's probably that's probably the most logical move. I think obviously Benavides is a huge draw, especially in the Mexican market. I think I don't he's not on the level. I don't want to say he's on the level of Canelo in terms of pay per view sales, but I think in terms of skill, like it's Benavides is way better. But go, but
He absolutely can be, right? He
and
absolutely can be. He just got to fight Opetaia. I
yeah,
think Opetaia is the. I understand we want to see Benavidez versus Bivol. I wouldn't. I would absolutely want to see that happen. Um, of course, better Biev can come up to cruiserweight as well.
well, yeah, we
But
still
right
got
now, dude, you gotta have Benavidez versus Opetaia in mind, man. Like that can't
right.
we can't let that one slip.
No,
If
of course.
Benavidez lets that one slip, then I think his reputation in the boxing world will be a little bit jaded when you think about the legitimacy of his work and all that. I think Opetaia is a threat to him right now.
Right. And going back to Callum Walsh and Tyler Denny, I think this is a very sneaky, dangerous fight for Walsh, man. Tyler Denny's very awkward, but he's also experienced and durable. And Walsh does have the power. He has power and he has the star potential. But Denny's style could really test him, I think, in this fight. And I think this McKenna fight feels like a real 50-50 fight because this is one where I don't think I mean, obviously, McKenna's gonna have to come out swinging. He's gonna have to come out with his aggressive style. He's gonna have to be very on it, very fight on the front foot. He's got to front fight very. He can't. He has to play it smart though, McKenna. He cannot play. He cannot. Uh, he has to play it smart. Basically, he has to push a fast pace early. He's got to work combinations on the body. You got to feed off the home crowd advantage as well, and you got to make how do you say it? Olila? How do you say it? How do you say his name?
Oliha.
Oliha. There you go. Sorry, I'm terrible with names. You got to make Oliha uncomfortable physically, and as for Oliha, slow the tempo down, counter McKenna's aggression, and you got to stay disciplined defensively, and you have to force McKenna into mistakes. That's the one thing I've learned about Aaron McKenna is that if you force him into mistakes, you basically win the fight.
Yeah.
But
I'll
it's
say
gonna be
this, man.
fun,
If
fun card.
if Zuffa 7 was this much fun, I think Zuffa 10 is going to be a ton of fun. Obviously, Callum Walsh is somebody that we've had our eyes on since Zuffa boxing has begun just a few months ago. And
Yeah,
then you got Aaron McKenna fighting in Dublin, Ireland. Like, come on now. For a belt, of course, and opening up Pandora's box, creating more collaboration in boxing, which I think is desperate. I think the world of boxing needs this move right now. And what's also interesting pertaining to that is the IBF and WBO they've announced a joint convention taking place from December 9th to December 13th at the end of this year. So not only are we going to be able to see at least between the IBF and I'd imagine the WBO alongside, um, these title fights will be happening on Zuffa, it seems. We will also get this convention at the end of the year, and I could see them wanting to do an end of year convention, the IBF and WBO, and unify minor and major champions, a whole 4-day convention. This sounds excellent for boxing. It seems like Zuffa, IBF, and WBO are kind of joining forces a little bit. It's really hard to tell. It's really hard to tell, and things are changing all the freaking time. But if that's the case, because that's kind of the signs I'm getting here, is that the IBF and WBO are going to be working a lot more closely. Seems like they're having a yearly event to close out each year. They want to get that rolling. And then Zuffa wants to be a part of that as well. I mean, what are the odds that we see a Zuffa show at this IBF and WBO convention? I know I'm dreaming big, but it's possible, and it would work well. So I'm hoping for the best here. I'm hoping that we can bring the world of boxing together as it seems to me like it's coming together. What are your thoughts on that?
yeah. I mean, it's about time that they finally sort of play ball. I guess if that makes any sense. I think. I mean, we've been saying it for, like we said, we've been saying it on the show for a long time. Like that, all of them are stubborn and they don't want to play ball. But now that they're having this convention and maybe that they might unify, like it's a win-win for boxing and it's a win-win for everybody. Like you make everybody happy. And I think this is where you have to let Zuffa and all the minors kind of you got to let them in a little bit, man. You got to kind of let them in. Like you can't just shun them away. I understand Zuffa and the sanctioning bodies have a very rocky history, but if this convention is successful, I think it's a win for Zuffa.
Yeah, totally. I kind of see it shifting a little bit. Like it's not going to be so dang cut and dry, but I kind of see the WBA and WBC kind of pertaining to big Turkey Al Sheikh Ring Magazine championship events.
I hope
And
so.
then I see Zuffa kind of pertaining to the WBO and IBF. It's not going to be cut and dry like that, but that kind of seems like that's where it can naturally go. And it kind of seems like that would be best. And of course, like you got Conor Benn unofficially fighting for the WBC welterweight title against Ryan Garcia. They have yet to announce that officially, which is why we haven't brought it up. Don't worry, when they do, we will absolutely talk about that. But that'll kind of be the foundation, and that could be the groundwork. I think that could be really good for boxing. And I think if we get everybody working together, everybody makes some money, then we can play ball and we can stop bullshitting and start boxing. Because I really do think like based off what we've been seeing very recently in 2026 with boxing, is it's trying to come back. It's trying to set itself up to be the best it can be. The world of boxing is.
Yeah, we can stop ranting on this show about how the sanctioning bodies don't want to play ball because I still think about that rant about that. What was it, that rant we did when they stripped Opataya of his titles? Man, that was
It's
rough.
not a fun place to be,
It's
and I
not.
think I think I think there's a place for these sanctioning bodies and the championships. And I think there's a place for Zuffa, whether you like it or not. Like I think there's a place for all of it. And if they just figure out how to work together, take what's already there, take what's trying to become, then they can do a lot better and figure some shit out here. All right, man. Let's move on. We got a couple more announcements to talk about. Katie Taylor actually announced that her last championship defense, her last boxing match, will be against the number 5 junior welterweight in the world, Flora Bealey. That'll be in Dublin on September 5th. So you got Zuffa coming in August. The very next month, you have Katie Taylor boxing her last match in Dublin, Ireland, which will be very fun. Another very fun announcement we got was actually Lamont Roach returning, taking on William Zepeda for the vacant WBC lightweight title. Going to be a very fun fight on August 1st. So those are two good announcements. We love to see more and more fights joining the calendar late into summer. We've got summer established pretty well with some fun fights. Now we're going to go ahead and add some to August, late summer, and September, late summer as well. But before we get into our last thing on this show, which will be the June matchups of the month, as well as UFC Freedom 250, which will be taking place this upcoming weekend here in 7 days at the time of this recording. And I know you're fired up for that. I'm fired up for that. That's going to be a historic event. We'll get to all this stuff. All right. We got to close out the May matchups of the month, and we got to preview the June matchups of the month. And then we'll go ahead and talk a little UFC, amongst other things as well. Closing out the May matchups of the month, we saw Dimitri Bivol win his return to boxing against Michael Eifert by decision, retaining the Ring WBA and IBF light heavyweight championship. We also saw Amanda Serrano in the co-main of MVP Women's 3 defeat Cheyenne Hansen by decision to retain the Ring WBA and WBO featherweight championship. Of course, MVP Women will be on Saturday, June 13th for MVP Women 4. MVP Women is clearly the undisputed home of women's boxing. We have every fight on the main card of MVP 4 being for a title, which is really cool. And, we've seen some good stuff from the first 3 events for the most part. MVP 3's main event was very questionable with Holly Holm. Honestly, I don't really want to talk about it because I don't like to highlight the negative of boxing. I want to talk about the positive, so I'll just keep it at that. And then last but not least, for the May matchups of the month, we saw Oshaki Foster defend the WBC junior lightweight title against Raymond Ford. He wins by decision. This is a top 6 junior lightweight matchup. Very fun fight out of Houston, Texas. Oshaki Foster, of course, having some words with Devin Haney at the end of the fight. Not Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson. So it seems that Shakur Stevenson and Oshaki Foster may have a fight coming up. Honestly, I'm very reluctant to see what's about to go down next with Shakur Stevenson, especially with the Zuffa rumors. I think Dana White has a big announcement, especially pertaining to Zuffa Boxing 9 within the coming weeks. I think they want to have a big maybe junior welterweight or welterweight fight at Zuffa Boxing 9. Probably welterweight because they don't do the junior divisions. I think Shakur will be moving up to welterweight. I think they're trying to get a good opponent for him. Either they're going to announce it at Zuffa Boxing 9 or have it at Zuffa Boxing 9. It'd be crazy if they just announced a Shakur fight for Zuffa 9. I can see them just announcing him as a Zuffa fighter and having a little panel with him or something. But we'll have to wait and see, man. I'm eager to see what's next for Shakur Stevenson. I think he is truly one of the he might be the biggest rising star in boxing. Not the biggest star, but the biggest rising star. And you could potentially even make an argument that he's the biggest star if you really wanted to. What did you think about Shakur and Raymond Ford? and potentially even Dmitry Bivol's return to boxing?
I guess I'll start with Dimitri first. Very vintage Dimitri Bivol performance. He controlled distance beautifully with his jab and his footwork. First round knockout was immediate and it established the gap and obviously the skill level too. Like this fight was not even close, like at all. Like this was like one of those fights where it was as one sided as it gets. And obviously, like we said, we knew that was gonna happen because this is a tune up fight, right? It's a tune up. It's one of those tune up fights. Like all respect to Michael Eifert, but he was not gonna get it done against Dimitri Bivol, man. And then Ford and Shakur would be an interesting fight, I think, because I think. Oh, I know.
Foster.
Yeah, I'm about to say Foster. Yeah, I'm about to say because
Yeah.
Ford lost. No, Shaky Foster versus.
I will say though, man, Ford put up a good fight, and
No, he did.
Ray Ford was talking that shit. He got his ass thrown out of the ring, but he also put together a good fight.
That was
That was
crazy.
crazy.
That was,
That was one of those moments like Jarrell Miller losing his hair, and then there's Raymond Ford getting thrown out of the ring. Those are like the two WTF moments in boxing of 2026.
Yep. But O'Shaky Foster looked really good. He once again showed why he's one of boxing's most underrated technicians. His defense was really good. His counterpunching was really well. Yeah, and I liked his controlled range. It was he disrupted Ford's rhythm, and I think a fight between him and Shakur would be honestly pretty fun to watch. I think that'd be an interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah,
Totally.
that'd be interesting. That'd be an interesting fight to watch, man. I think. I mean, I don't. I've had my critiques of Shakur over the years, but honestly, man, like he's impressed me a little bit, man. Honestly, he really has impressed me throughout these last couple months with his performances, Shakur, and I'd be willing to see a fight between O'Shaky and Shakur. I think that's the fight to make, and I think you have whether it's in Zuffa or whether it's in DAZN, it doesn't matter, man. As long as we see that fight, but it'd be cool.
I think it's a fight we'll see. I just don't think it's a fight that we'll see right now. I
No, not
think
yet.
you got to get O'Shaquie Foster up there, and I think Shakur Stevenson, especially if he's going to Zuffa, is going to be a welterweight before we know it. So they're pretty far from each other in weight class right now, but I think 2027 we'll definitely see Shock versus Shakur.
I'd say 2027 or even I'd say early 2027 or even late 2027 is probably like where I'm thinking for this fight.
That'll be a huge fight, dude. That'll be a
Okay.
huge fight. Again, whether it's on DAZN or Zuffa, we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what the future holds.
Yeah, man. But interesting couple matchups, man, for sure. Like throughout the month of May, and then yeah, it's gonna be fun, fun time.
May was very fun. You get into the June matchups of the month, and you don't have the quantity that May had. You have a lot less fights, but I will say every fight on this May matchup, June matchups of the month, brought to us by Ring Magazine, is a banger. That first one was CBS versus Ryan Rizicki, the main event of Zuffa 7. Talked about that at the start of the show. We saw CBS get the TKO as the referee stopped the fight. This upcoming weekend, we got Bam Rodriguez, the junior bantamweight Ring Magazine champion, moving up to bantamweight, taking on Antonio Vargas, the number 5 bantamweight in the world for the WBA bantamweight title. That'll be on DAZN. That'll be very fun. The very next weekend, we got Oscar Collazo taking on Joey Canoy, the number 5 strawweight in the world, and then Oscar Collazo, of course, is defending the Ring WBA WBO strawweight championship. And then in the middle of late June, I should say, we have Lewis Crocker and Liam Paro facing off for the vacant IBF welterweight title. On June 27th is the big one. Xander Zayas taking on Boots Ennis for the WBA and WBO super welterweight championship. And then to close out the June matchups of the month, we actually have the main event of Zuffa Boxing 8, which will be Jose Valenzuela taking on Edwin De Los Santos for a second time, which is, I don't even need to explain why that's going to be an awesome fight. Go watch the first fight. It's definitely good fun. That's like one of the most rewatchable modern fights, in my opinion, is Jose Valenzuela versus Edwin De Los Santos. Such a fun fight. Took place in the PBC. many moons ago, not that long ago, but a while ago. And yeah, very excited for these matchups in June. All of these fights are going to be incredible. Like every single one of them. It seems like June is bringing the quality. May did bring a lot of quality, but May had a lot of quantity. May had a lot of shows, but June has 6 fights on the matchups of the month, and they're all incredible. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on these fights?
yeah, and I was really about to say that right now. The quantity, man. Like these fights are going to be really fun to watch. Obviously, I'm going to be tuning in to see Bam. Obviously, San Antonio's own, of course. Um, it's always fun to watch Bam, man. I will say that, and Antonio Vargas is a really good opponent for him too, because like Vargas is long, he's athletic, and he's very physically strong for that weight class, and he has definitely improved massively since his early career loss, and he's become a very solid bantamweight, and I think Jesse, obviously Bam is a really good opponent for him, and I think that'll be a fun fight to watch. Oscar Collazo and Canoy, that'll be a fun fight too. Obviously, Collazo continues building one of the most underrated resumes in boxing, and he's trying to become a genuine pound for pound level fighter in that lower weight class. And now he faces a dangerous Filipino in Joey Canoy, and I think Collazo is going to fight with aggression, precision, and his maturity beyond his years. He's going to try to cut off the ring. And as for Canoy, he's also very experienced. He's durable, and he's offensively aggressive. So this is one of those fights where I'm definitely going to be tuned in. I think this fight will be a fight we're going to look back on and say, hey, this was a badass fight.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, man. And then,
Yeah, I just want to actually no. You got me inspired here, man. I think Koyasu versus Kanoi, a top 5 strawweight fight, is must watch.
yeah,
Right? We got Xander Zayas versus Boots. We got Bam returning, moving up to bantamweight. Koyasu is going to put on a good show,
oh,
man.
yeah, dude.
And of course, Bam will too. Don't get me wrong.
Same with Xander and Boots, man. Obviously, that's a big fight in itself because this is one of the best fights boxing has probably made in years, in my opinion, because you have
Oh yeah.
defeated stars and somebody's all has to go, and of course they're both in their primes too. It's not like one guy's out of their prime and now they're making this fight. These guys are in their prime. They're at the top of their game, and this is a fight where somebody has to lose. I think it's going to be a real interesting fight. I've been following Xander Zayas for a long time, and I've also been following Boots for a long time. So this is going to be a really close fight, I think, between these two. I don't have a horse in this race at all because I like both of them, but I'm excited to see this fight. This is going to be fun. That fight is going to be really fun.
Yeah, man. And if that's not enough for you, man, 24 hours later, you have Zuffa Boxing 8, Valenzuela versus De Los Santos 2, which is just
Oh, yeah.
incredible. And I will say, we should, by that point, have a lot more announcements for Zuffa. I think by that point in time, when Zuffa Boxing 8 comes around, they will have wanted to announce what Zuffa 9 is going to look like and what Shakur Stevenson and Zuffa is going to look like. Like, those are two things that I'm eager to see. So I'm excited to have good fighting in the month of June and to get some good announcements in the month of June as well.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how July looks for boxing, man. Obviously, Ring Magazine will see what they're cooking up. But I mean, and going back to your point about Valenzuela and De Los Santos, man, like you said it, man, probably one of the best modern fights we've ever seen. And I think obviously this is a pure violence fight again. Obviously, their first, like we said, their first fight was insane. And I think if my keys to victory for Valenzuela, you got to stay disciplined defensively. You can't overcommit early. And for De Los Santos, land the left hand clean, slow the tempo down, and make Valenzuela uncomfortable when he tries to exchange. But I think this fight's going to be really close. And I don't know, honestly, again, it's one of those fights where it's 50-50.
Yeah, man. A lot of 50-50 fights this month. Yeah. I mean, hey, let's go ahead and zoom back in and look at what we have coming to us this upcoming weekend. Of course, we have UFC Freedom 250 on Sunday. On Saturday, yes, we stated it before, you have MVP Women's 4, which will be good. And then we also have this absolute circus fight between Tommy Fury and Eddie Hall. put on by Queensberry. This is a very like British celebrity boxing match. But goodness gracious, man, Tommy Fury versus Eddie Hall is gonna have us glued to the screen. I'm not gonna lie. Like I can't look away from the circus fight. I question whether this circus fight should exist or not. I'm gonna admit it. I'm probably gonna watch it. Are you gonna have your eyes on Fury versus Hall? I'm curious.
I don't know, man. I mean, I've always been a fan of Queensberry Promotions, man. They have done some crazy shit. Obviously, my favorite event from Queensberry was actually the when they faced off against Matchroom in that 5v5. That was a fun event to watch. This is before this is actually before we started this show, but that was a fun card. And I probably might actually tune into this fight. Obviously, these guys are pretty big in the UK, and again, it's a circus fight, but hey, man, we can have some silly stuff in boxes sometimes. Obviously, there's a huge weight difference, but uh,
Reach versus muscle. That's what this is.
yeah,
And there's not even a big reach like advantage. So it'll be, it's a gladiator. It's throwing a gladiator in there with a lion is really what it is, and we'll see what happens.
I am so curious to see what happens, bro. Like it's one of those fights where it's so stupid on paper, but you can't look away.
Yeah. Yeah. We have it all. We have it all, including UFC Freedom 250, which I'm so freaking excited to get into. This is a once in a lifetime event. This can be the future of UFC. If UFC learns how to make these freedom cards once a year and show us the guys that we want to see, then I think UFC will do a great job of ushering themselves into a new era, right? We're kind of in a transition period with UFC as you have MVP, most valuable promotions, knocking on their door with a Rousey fight earlier this year. And then now they have a once in a lifetime event that I think can easily be replicated into a yearly event. Nonetheless, man, you'll always remember the first if that's what it's going to be. Main event of Freedom 250 is going to be Ilya Taporia versus Justin Gaethje for the undisputed UFC lightweight championship. That is a fight. That is a fight. You got that co-main Alex Pereira versus Cyril Gane for the UFC interim heavyweight championship. Pereira moves up. Cyril Gane is the final boss to that interim heavyweight title, potentially even the heavyweight title, depending on what happens with Tom Aspinall over time. You got Sean O'Malley taking on Amin Zahabi. That's a top 6 bantamweight bout. Josh Hokett taking on Derek Lewis. That's a top 9 heavyweight bout. Mauricio Rufy taking on Michael Chandler. Top 13 lightweight bout. That's fine. 6 out of these 7 fights are ranked for the main card. The only one that's not is Bo Nickel versus Kyle Dawkins. And then what's going to open up the main card is Diego Lopez versus Steve Garcia. So much freaking fun. I think Dana White really did everything that he could to make this card everything that it can be. And I will say I'm very excited. A lot of people talk shit about this card. You didn't hear it from us, brother. You didn't hear it from us. We are very excited for Taporia versus Gaethje, Pereira versus Gane. Like, these are some great fights. This is going to live up to the hype, and I'm excited for it, man. It's going to be a long event, though. 7 fights. Good Lord. 7-fight main card.
We'll be fine. Nah, I mean, like you said, people are talking a lot of shit about this card. I mean, I think the thing is with this card is I think a lot of fans were expecting more. I think they were expecting Connor to come back, probably John Jones to fight one more time. But I think I like what we got here, man. Obviously, Taporia is a fan favorite. Justin Gaethje is another fan favorite as well. This was the fight to make, especially after Gaethje captured that interim title. So I think this is going to be a fun fight. It's the perfect main event, perfect way to do UFC Freedom 250, and I don't know, man. There's so many good fights on this card. Like I mean, you want me to break them down? You want me to just go like, how should we do this?
We'll break them down.
All right,
next time. We've mentioned them. We're excited for them. And I
right.
do want to say this. Like, what more can you expect from Freedom 250? Everything that the fans wanted is happening, just not in the way that they expected. You got John Jones looking to fight Francis Ngannou with most valuable promotions. And then the threat of Tom Aspinall also working with most valuable promotions is definitely there. All right. Don't think it's not there. It is. We'll have to wait and see what happens. And then you got Conor McGregor returning after Freedom 250. So we're going to see the guys that we want to see. I honestly don't think John Jones is done. I hope he's not done. I would like to see as much John Jones as we can. I understand he has his issues, but John Jones is John Jones. To me, if like there was a lineal heavyweight champion of MMA, it's John Jones right now.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, really
and I
no.
think him fighting Ngannou is a competitive fight, which is what we truly want to see. And then Conor McGregor coming back and fighting Max Holloway, that is also a freaking huge fight, man. That's exciting.
Money fight.
Very exciting. So it may not all be happening at Freedom 250, but what is happening at Freedom 250 will be enthralling. I mean, Gaethje versus Tuportia really does feel like a once in a lifetime fight. We'll see if they get back in the octagon at a later time. I wouldn't be surprised.
Somebody's getting dropped
Um,
in that fight for sure.
who's getting dropped?
I said somebody's getting dropped. I'm gonna say Gaethje, dude. I think Gaethje is gonna get dropped. I think Taporia is just too much for him. I mean, look at Taporia's resume, man. Like fucking
Tuportia's next level.
Holloway.
Tuportia's next when people fizzled out because it was like you had O'Malley, Tuportia, Sean Strickland at the time. I know he's champion once again; he'll be fine. But you thought you had all these new names in UFC, and Tuportia was one of them. It feels like all these new names took a step back. O'Malley took a step back. Strickland took a step back for a second, and Tuportia just stayed strong and stayed in there. Like he's almost if he wins his next two fights, he'll be at the level of Islam Makachev. Like
Well, I think
he really is going
higher.
for greatness.
I think he might even go higher, bro. Like honestly, because I mean, I think when it's all set in stone, bro, I think Taporia is gonna be like one of the greatest of all time. I think, in my opinion, that's just me though. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I
he
wouldn't be
has to
surprised.
back it up. He has the resume to back it up for sure. And I think if he beats Gaethje, it's one step closer to proving that. And Taporia and Pereira are the guys, bro. Like they're the top stars right now, in my opinion. I mean,
Yeah, and they're both getting they're getting their main and co-main. Like
yeah,
how much better can you make it? It's an
absolutely.
it's an exciting card.
Yeah, and I think Gon's a really good fighter. Obviously, the eye pokes really changed my perspective of him, but I mean, I think Alex Pereira will probably figure out a way to get it done.
It'll
Who
be a competitive fight
will
between
be?
Perea and Gon. I do think Perea will get it, but I think
Yeah,
Gon will put up a good ass fight.
Sean O'Malley on this card is good too. Obviously, I like Sean. I think he's great. And then Zahabi, man, I think that's the really good opponent for him, dude. Honestly, I think Zahabi will really push Sean to the limit a little bit here, and I still think Sean's gonna win, but I think Zahabi will really test him.
You look at the card and all these fights look so competitive, right? Like the last three fights will be very competitive. Hokit versus Lewis.
Hope
I think Hokit should get that one, but it is a big attraction fight with Derek Lewis being the heavyweight legend that he is. Rufy versus Chandler is absolutely a competitive fight. Nickel versus Dawkins, American versus American competitive fight. And then I do think Lopez versus Steve Garcia isn't as competitive, but it is giving an American a chance to be an underdog to open up the main card. So
I'm
I'm
excited.
I'm very happy with this card, man, and
I
it's kind of like revamping my joy for UFC, which I've kind of been off and on with in 2026. I think 2026 was going really well for me until we got the Oliveira and Holloway fight. I think that was a dud. I think that really made a lot of people ask questions about what the BMF championship is and what it should be. And I think we're getting back on track here. We got Freedom 250. Strickland just won the belt back, which was a cool, close fight. And then you got Conor McGregor returning, which
Yeah,
is
man.
crazy to say.
And
Yeah.
like you said with the BMF title, man, like I mean that was a very odd fight and probably one of the worst BMF title fights you've ever seen. Also, another thing that really turned a lot of fans off was obviously the ass whooping that JDM received at the hands of at the wrestling and grappling of Islam, man. Like I think that's that really turned a lot of fans away. And I think this card like is gonna really reel fans back in. Obviously, I didn't want to mention Hokit and Derek Lewis. That's going to be a fun, pure heavyweight fight. I mean, obviously these two guys are very entertaining. Derek Lewis is a fun guy to watch, man. I've always been a fan of his. Like ever since his interviews with Rogan, man. Like, come on, how can you not love Derek Lewis?
Yeah,
Josh,
man. One of a kind.
and then I did want to talk about Rufy versus Chandler. I think this is a bit of a mismatch for Michael Chandler, dude. Obviously, Michael Chandler is not in his prime anymore. He's not the Bellator guy that I remember watching. He's a little washed up, man, and I think Mauricio Rufy will probably get it done somehow. I think Chandler's getting roofied, as we say in the MMA community. I think.
Damn.
Sorry, man. I love Michael Chandler to death. He was awesome in Bellator, but Mauricio Rufy, man, he's that guy. Come on, let's. And then
I still hold out fight for a Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler fight. I still
not
think
gonna
that's a
happen.
good fight. We'll
Not
see what I know, but we'll see what happens with McGregor and Holloway. That's also an incredible fight. That's a great recovery after losing the Chandler and McGregor fight years ago.
yeah. And then Lopez and Steve Garcia, like you said, we're kind of getting an underdog fight. Obviously, I see Lopez walking out with the win here. I think those fights against Volkanovski are really gonna help him with his experience. I think, and that's what. Obviously, Lopez fights with nonstop pressure, and we've seen his finishes. So I think this is a huge mismatch for Steve Garcia, and I think Lopez is going to get his hand raised by the end of it. But and then, yeah, man, McGregor. I mean, we keep talking about McGregor and Holloway, dude. That's fucking amazing fight, man. I guess it's because like it comes at a good time. It comes at a pretty interesting time too, because obviously Holloway is on a bit of a decline, but at the same time, so is McGregor. But it'll be a fun fight, and I know that's not what we're talking about. We're supposed to be talking about Freedom 250, but
It's okay. We do give boxing a lot of love on this show, so I do want to maximize the hype and anticipation for this once in a lifetime event.
yeah, man. I mean, what a time to be a combat sports fan, bro. Honestly, and I mean, I've been riding with the UFC since through thick and thin, man. Through the boring fights and through the amazing fights. So it's
Yeah,
fun, man. It's fun to
yeah. I will say, like, I think if you're UFC and you want to mitigate some of the negative press that's been going around, I think, like, yes, as fight fans, we do have to accept that UFC Fight Night is unfortunately becoming less competitive because it's easier to watch on Paramount Plus. It really does seem like they're kind of using Fight Night as something to put on, which is fine, right? I was kind of chilling with some friends and I didn't even realize Fight Night was on. So I put it on, and Fight Night's just simply it's not as competitive as it used to be. I feel like it really isn't. Um,
mm,
but you can have that. You can have Fight Night to be on damn near every Saturday if you wanted to, and just put together your whatever cards for Fight Night. But you cannot disappoint with these numbered events. And I think there's only been one dud in 2026, and that's fine. Like, you can learn from that in this new era, the Paramount Plus era, or whatever we're calling it for UFC. Like, I think you have to keep those numbered events very competitive. And if you have to sacrifice some of the quality for Fight Night and just put some fights together for Fight Night, then that's what you do. It seems like that's what UFC wants to do. And if that's what they're going to do, then they have to make sure that the complacency we're seeing on Fight Night doesn't make it into the numbered events main card. Because that is a danger that can possibly happen. But I do see them actively attempting to maximize their opportunities and have big events still.
I think so. I'm gonna be honest, bro. I have not watched the Fight Night in a while. I think the last one I actually tuned into was when Dillashaw fought. What was it? Was it Cejudo? That was probably the last one I actually tuned into. And
They
then I think,
used to have some really fun ones. They used to have like top 3 matchups, top 5
yeah,
matchups. If you don't want to do that on Fight Night anymore, that's fine. Put it on the undercard of a numbered event, but those numbered events have to hit.
yeah, and I think that's the thing is that like they're and I mean I think the problem is that like back in the day, like mainly 2010s, bro, we would get like top fights. We get like the remember the FX, the UFC on FX cards. We used to have UFC on Fox, like, and there were actually good matchups too. Like we would get like fun scraps, and now it's like the UFC is just putting on whatever. I think at this point, like I'm looking at this card right now from last night, and main event was Bonfim versus Muhammad, bro. And no disrespect to Bilal Muhammad, but man, he's not. He's just okay. He's just a mid fighter, and Shabazian, bro. I like Edmund Shabazian. He's another good fighter, but he's one of those guys that kind of fell off like after all that hype behind him. And
Yeah.
this kind of proved it with his loss of Braylon Allen. Like he's not all that, bro. I don't know, man.
Yeah, for sure. I do think that they have the pathway. They just have to follow it. That's kind of what I'm seeing with UFC on Paramount Plus right now. Like they've struck gold on some numbered events, and then they have had their mistakes. Especially last year before they went to Paramount Plus, a lot of their numbered events were very boring main events and stuff, and those were pay-per-views. So it's
Yeah.
good that we don't do pay-per-views anymore. It takes the pressure off, but there should be an incentive to make people who watch a main card of a numbered event for UFC want to come back for the next one. If they
Yeah.
watch 289, they want to come back for 299, right?
I will, yeah, I will say though, UFC, the last UFC Fight Night card where it was Yadong versus Figueiredo, that was a fun main card. That was really fun. Granted, it was at like 6 in the morning, so I didn't actually get to watch it, but went back and rewatched all the main card fights,
I
and
want to say there was like a top 3 featherweight matchup that happened on a fight night maybe it was a few months ago at this point, and that was the last fight night that I watched and was very excited for.
yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I think the fight nights are in a weird spot, but the pay per views are honestly delivering, and I think that's
They
very
just got to keep delivering. They can't do
yeah.
Oliveira versus Holloway again.
Yes,
They
you
just got
cannot
to
do.
keep delivering.
Yes, but I mean, yeah, you gotta make sure these pay per view cards deliver, and I'm sure we're gonna definitely be looking at. We're gonna definitely talk a lot about Freedom 250. I have a weird feeling that next time we do the show, I feel like we're gonna dedicate a whole segment just to Freedom 250, which will be awesome to see, man. I can't wait for next weekend.
Yeah, man, we'll be back at you next weekend with our full analysis and thoughts of Freedom 250. Very excited for this show. Know I'm going to be kicking it with a lot of homies watching it, so it's a big event when the homies are like, "Let's do something for it." So
Hell yeah.
very excited, man. Very excited to see developments from Zuffa Boxing this month. Very excited to see every single matchup on the Ring Magazine June matchups of the month. Gonna be
Yeah.
a good time, man. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, I mean, just the Ring Magazine, man. The Ring Magazine June matches of the month took so long, bro. And I remember we were just like having a laugh at it. We were like,
Yeah, this is basically 2 episodes in one. We were supposed to close out May, introduce the June matchups, and then kind of go over Zuffa while previewing UFC Freedom 250. And we just kind of did all that in one big episode. And we had it in less than an hour. Like we are
yeah,
at 52 minutes at this point, and I'm very excited because that's
yeah,
one thing is, man, we had a big show today and it didn't tip over an hour. I think we should be proud of ourselves and pat ourselves on the back for that.
sir, man. All right. I've signed off the last 2 episodes, so I'll let you take the reins, my friend.
Okay, let me try to do this. Rest in peace to the big homie Carlos Carrasco. I don't remember. That's the big thing I remember you saying.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to my dead grandfather. Both of them. And let's fucking
Okay.
go. We're excited for UFC Freedom 250. And just put me on the spot with a sign off. This has been the Lights Out Podcast. We're excited to kick ass. Boom! Woo! Let's go.
Yeah.
Hey,
There we
go
go.
cut some grass, fellas, and then get inside for UFC 250 next weekend. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll
Cut
talk
some
to you guys
grass.
soon.
God damn it. Cut some.